Between a Rock and a Hard Place, the Spiritual Representation of Egypt, and the Identity of True Israel. By Christopher Turner, Heritage Weekly founder and editor-in-chief. Craving insightful content? Like, share and subscribe to our page for more powerful ideas, and don't miss what our sponsor has to offer below. Before we dive into today's article, here's a quick message from Heritage Weekly, featuring one of our latest products, Jacob's Trouble, The Birth of a King, now available for pre-order. Jacob's Trouble, The Birth of a King is a gripping, thought-provoking novel rooted in historical insight. Set against the backdrop of a world on the brink of transformation, this story unveils the rise of a powerful new era, led by a figure destined to reshape nations and elevate Israel to its rightful place. Follow the journey of Masha, a man chosen by God to protect his family and people in the midst of divine trials and treachery. With thrilling action, deep spiritual insight, and a storyline that challenges conventional thought, Jacob's Trouble, The Birth of a King will leave readers questioning their role in the grand narrative of prophecy, power, and redemption. Pre-order your copy today for just $9.99 exclusively on Kindle. Release date January 1, 2025. Don't miss out on this monumental tale. Secure your copy now and step into a world of divine power and prophecy. Your pace, your way. Listen, read, and learn something new today. Between a Rock and a Hard Place, the Spiritual Representation of Egypt and the Identity of True Israel. Photo by Lisa Marie Theck on Unsplash. Deuteronomy 28:68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall redeem you. The journey of the Israelites has long been a story of captivity, exile, and redemption. When Yahawah spoke to Moses, he not only recounted the trials of Egypt but also prophesied of a future bondage, a journey into Egypt again, but this time by ships. This prophetic declaration found its tragic fulfillment in the Transatlantic slave trade, a harrowing episode that saw millions of Israelites taken to distant lands and sold as slaves, fulfilling the covenant curses outlined in Deuteronomy. Egypt, as a spiritual symbol. The word Egypt in this context is translated from the Hebrew Mizraim, meaning between a rock and a hard place. While historically a geographical location, spiritually, Egypt represents a state of bondage, oppression, and distress. The Israelites' first captivity in Egypt set the stage for this symbolism, which Deuteronomy 2008:68 reclaims to describe a future period of enslavement, this time beyond the borders of the ancient world. The passage emphasizes the unprecedented nature of this captivity. It would be by ships, a mode of transportation foreign to the Israelites' ancient context. This detail points directly to the transatlantic slave trade, where Israelites were transported across oceans, sold as bondmen and bondwomen, with no one to redeem or rescue them. The word redeem, a transliteration issue. In Deuteronomy 28:68, the phrase "no man shall buy you" is often misunderstood. The Hebrew word translated as buy is kana, which in this context means redeem or rescue. The verse conveys that while the Israelites would be sold into slavery, no one would intervene on their behalf. This transliteration issue obscures the deeper meaning of the prophecy, which foretells the abandonment of the Israelites in their suffering, a consequence of disobedience to Yahawah's covenant. The migration of Israel, the dispersion of the Israelites after their captivity, is a critical element of prophecy, detailing their journeys and ultimate scattering across the globe. The Northern Kingdom, fleeing to Azareth. After the Assyrian captivity, much of the northern kingdom of Israel fled to a land described in 2 Esdras 13:40-45 as Azareth. Those are the 10 tribes, which were carried away prisoners out of their own land, in the time of Osea the king, whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters. And so came they into another land, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. Azareth is widely understood to refer to the lands of the Western Hemisphere. This migration occurred centuries before the southern kingdom's later flight into Africa. The northern tribes settled in the Americas, preserving remnants of their heritage, as seen in the traditions of many indigenous peoples, which align with Israelite customs and practices. The southern kingdom, fleeing to Africa. The southern kingdom of Judah, following the Roman invasion of Jerusalem in 70 CE, fled into Africa to escape persecution. This migration set the stage for their later enslavement, during the transatlantic slave trade. The Israelites were forcibly removed from the shores of West Africa, sold into slavery, and scattered across the Americas and the Caribbean, fulfilling the curse of Deuteronomy 28:68. Israel united in mystery Babylon, oppression and redemption. The scriptures affirm that in the end times, the true Israelites, both the northern and southern kingdoms, would suffer oppression together under the same oppressive system. Jeremiah 0:33-34 declares, "Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast, they refused to let them go. Their Redeemer is strong, the Lord of hosts is his name, he shall throughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land, and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon." This passage speaks to the collective suffering of the northern kingdom, indigenous peoples of the Americas, and the southern kingdom, descendants of the transatlantic slave trade under Mystery Babylon, a prophetic representation of modern Western power structures. The transatlantic slave trade forcibly relocated the southern kingdom to the same lands where the northern kingdom had already fled centuries earlier, as described in 2 Esdras 13:40-45. Today, Black, Hispanic and Native American communities share a common history of oppression under colonialism, slavery, and systemic injustice. These shared struggles testify to the truth of Jeremiah's prophecy. However, the prophecy also promises redemption. Yahawah will plead the cause of his people, disquieting their oppressors, and restoring Israel to its rightful place. This hope is the foundation of the Israelites' faith, and the ultimate fulfillment of Yahawah's covenant. The Lemba people. Evidence of Israel's migration. Historical and genetic evidence supports the claim that remnants of Israel migrated into Africa following successive exiles. The Lemba people of southern Africa are a striking example. They maintain traditions and practices remarkably similar to those of ancient Israel, such as kosher dietary laws and Sabbath observance. Prophecies of suffering and redemption. The experiences of Black, Hispanic and Native American communities during imperialism, colonialism, and the transatlantic slave trade align with the curses upon Israel for disobedience. 1. Loss of freedom and identity. Thou shalt serve thine enemies which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. Deuteronomy 8:48. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. Deuteronomy 8:28. 2. Rape, murder and exploitation. They ravished the women in Zion, and the maids in the cities of Judah, Lamentations 5:11, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Joel 3:3. 3. Colonial land theft and oppression. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and stablisheth a city by iniquity. Habakkuk 2:12. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Psalm 83:3-4. 4. Systemic injustice and incarceration. But this is a people robbed and spoiled, they are all of them snared in holes and they are hid in prison houses. Isaiah 2:22, the path back to Zion. The disconnection from identity and heritage is not the end of Israel's story. The scriptures speak of restoration. For I will take you from among the heathen, and gather you out of all countries, and will bring you into your own land. Ezekiel 6:24. Recognizing the true identity of Israel is not merely about reclaiming history, it is about embracing the covenant with Yahawah and returning to his commandments. The journey back to Zion begins with understanding who we are and why we were scattered. As Deuteronomy 33:4 promises, "Then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee," the spiritual representation of Egypt. The migrations to Azareth and Africa, and the fulfillment of prophecy converge to illuminate the path forward for the true children of Israel. All praises to the Most High.